The hotspot continues right here live, everybody. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and we're on KUAM TV. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. I'm Jason Salas, along with the Attorney General of Guam, Levin Camacho. AG, very good to see you as always.
Nice to see you too, Jason.
All right, and the Acting Chief Investigator, AV Camacho. Yes. So my grandmother was a Camacho, so we've got Team Camacho right here. and I think, gentlemen, that's actually very fitting because it is with a team approach, Mr. Attorney General, that you're actually promoting this de-escalating training. So can you kind of contextualize it first and just say like why this type of training is important and exactly what types of situations this is geared towards?
Sure, Jason. So, our island's changing and, growing up here, you're seeing more people kind of out who are suffering from mental health issues. I'll just be very upfront about it. People who are more in crisis, people who have substance abuse issues. And last year we learned about this training that was de-escalation training, and it's to give our officers more tools to get out there when they're responding to someone who's in crisis or who may not be acting rationally. And so we thought this would be great to bring out to Guam. We talked to Chief Ignacio, and he was on board with it. We sent out one of our acting chief investigator, AV, 3 GPD officers to North Dakota and to Tennessee to train the trainer programs in late last year. And we're very excited that they were able to do the first training here in Guam locally with 15 cadets this past week. So it's all about public safety and our community being safe, but also our police officers getting home safely, law enforcement officers getting home safely. And this is evidence-based, it's proven to work. Louisville Police Department has implemented this. They saw like a 27% reduction in use of force incidents, 28% reduction in the number of civilians injured, and like a 36% reduction in officers injured when interacting with the public. So it's safer for everyone who's involved.
Now, AV, if you would please, sir, kind of like break down the specific types of cases, because I know like I've been at KUM long enough, I know under very particular types of situations you would say like, we've got, there have been a couple hostage situations and they'll say they'll bring out a police negotiator, like in those cases. Those are very few and far between, but what types of incidents are we looking for to use these kind of tactics?
So ICAT was developed, it's a program that was developed to respond to incidents not involving firearms. So if someone is armed with a knife, a bat, something other than a firearm.
Blunt object, perhaps.
Yeah, blunt object, yeah. So that's what this program was developed for. And what it does, like the General said, it gives officers the option or additional tools to consider when approaching these kind of situations, So ICAT stands for Integrating Communications, Assessment, and Tactics. So, it's a gathering of information before you get there. You gather as much information as you can, and based on that information, you make an assessment, how am I going to approach this, what's my best approach, and then you build some kind of tactical approach that ensures the officer's safety and the safety of what other parties are involved. So, and and like we told the recruits in the recent training, you do this every day. It's just a critical decision-making process, right? Where you analyze all the information given to you, you assess that, and you create the best plan. So that's what it's about.
And would I be correct in hearing, like you were saying earlier, AG, that cadets went through this training? So you're actually starting this at the academy level. So new officers that will go on and begin patrolling Guam streets, they'll have this skill set like from the get-go.
That's correct. So our long-term goal is to get this incorporated as part of the post certification. But the trainers, they came out. This is the first time they've done a live. It's 1 day of instruction, and then they actually go through exercises. And I was there on the first day, and they watch a video, a body cam footage in a real situation. And the person that we watched was a woman whose kids called because she was cutting herself with a knife. So the officers respond, they go in, and you see them talking to her, and then these guys will then break it down. What could they have done differently? What would you have done? As an example, the radio was going off. They had 2 officers, and they're saying, oh, maybe you would turn your radio off so the person you're responding to isn't hearing like all this chatter, and they're getting distracted. Who should I be talking to? It
sounds almost like you're taking like what many people will be like the scientific method, right? Because you not only go through a series of steps as per GPD protocol or law enforcement, but you also evaluate and well, I mean literally in the phrase is assessment.
Yes, and it's the second day I wasn't able to go there, but they actually did exercises were live. We had some investigators from our office who role played, like be loud, be crazy, don't respond to them, and see how the cadets, what tools they used to respond to the situation. But at the end of the day, it's you have options to escalate or de-escalate, right? So if someone's yelling, do you yell back louder, or do you take a deep breath, take a step back, and then evaluate whether or not you need to escalate the situation?
Now I must ask, I've my mind has always been like pessimistic, but I'm totally on board with this. I think this is fantastic, you know, both for the community, for people that would possibly be reporting dangerous situations, as well as the safety of the officers themselves. Like you said, you know, everyone wants to get home safe, right? Have you talked to tenured, you know, experienced members of the cadre in GPD, and you know, in your office and everything, and like the old school cops, and like maybe solicited like some of their feedback and incorporated that?
Well,
I'm sure they're in favor of it too.
You know, so when I attended this training in North Dakota, they were straight up. They were honest with us. The people who created this program, they say your challenge is going to be the seasoned and more senior officers who are, because you know there's a police culture of taking control of a situation, right? So we're not asking cops not to take control of the situation, not to use force, because you know there's not every situation is going to end the way you want it to, and sometimes cops have to use force, right? But at the end of the day, what we're asking them to do is just try this different approach. You know, that's all we're asking you to do. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then at least we tried, right? And if the officer leaves there without getting hurt, and the person you're dealing there leaves without getting hurt, then we've all done our jobs, right?
Possibly, maybe contrary to public belief, you can teach an old dog new tricks. And I know from the police that the police officers I've been fortunate to speak with, like over the years, they always say, you know, we're always on the lookout for new techniques, new gear, new methods and everything like that. If it can help us do our job to the very best of our ability and keep our community safe, you know, we're 100% in.
And this is really in line with, I know Chief and Guam Behavioral Director Areola, this critical response team that they put together, where you have mental health professionals who are going out and potentially assisting, because again, they may already have a caseworker. So having a familiar face that can talk you through a crisis instead of getting out of hand, right, and then having to escalate. So this is in line with a broader project that we have here in Guam, recognizing the mental health issues, unfortunately, are oftentimes the repeat calls that you're going to get. I shared with the cadets that, you know, I live in Jigo Island Pantry, and my kids were asking, there's always this one guy that we see who doesn't wear shoes and just very tense because he's erratic. Like, where is he at? But those are the types of calls where it's a public safety situation, but maybe it doesn't require him to be taken down, and you know, you can kind of talk to him, get him to calm down. It's probably medication, find his family, right? So this is something we're seeing more and more of, and it's just giving our officers more tools to address it versus like, get on the ground, you know, I'm going to take you down.
You know, this is a wonderful program, obviously within the scope of like your office and GPD right now, but do you possibly see this maybe branching out to other types of personal security, you know, like, I mean, it's not a stretch, but like say security force, like private security, mall security? Like, because, you know, they have to deal with like potentially dangerous situations too. So, you know, having the ability to assess and knowing how to escalate that.
Well, we haven't really discussed this with any entities outside of law enforcement, but there is a very huge interest. I mean, we had our post meeting about a month ago, and all the other law enforcement agencies are interested in reaching out to us to provide this training. I know there's agriculture was asking, there was DOC and DYA. They're all interested in some kind of training, you know, to help their officers do the job that they need to do.
All right. Well, gentlemen, we thank you for what you're doing for our community. And you know, this is already in place, and it's going to make the island safer for everyone. And so we thank you for putting this in play.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, please stay tuned, because when Hotspot continues, we continue the Camacho family reunion. So stay tuned, because there's more coming up after this.
All right.
So what's up on our KOM News WhatsApp tip line at 671-727-0094. Share information about what's happening in your town, on Guam or the CNMI, and what you want us to know. Reach us on WhatsApp at 671-727-0094.